Okay, in this tutorial we're going to have a look at how you can add camera shake to your footage. So I'm going to create a new composition in After Effects. I'll go Composition, New Composition. I'm going to make it HDTV 1080-25, and the duration, I'll just bring that back a little bit. We might just make that 5 seconds, and I'll click OK. Alright, now I have this image. I'm going to drag it down into my timeline. Okay, and you can see what that is, just a nice countryside. And if I play it through, you can see that it's actually a photograph. So I thought I'd use a photograph just so you can see how this works, but the exact same technique is used to apply to actual video files. Alright, so we want to make this shake a little bit, maybe as though it's being kind of handheld shot. So we're going to come down into our layer and transform. Now if you think about it, we've got all these things that we can animate on it. The opacity, so how visible or not visible it is, the rotation, the scale, the position, and the anchor point. For us to move it around and give it a little bit of camera shake, the obvious one that we're looking at is position. Okay. Now I can come in here, and if I click on the stopwatch, now I can, move it around and that sort of thing, and this is the result that you get. Alright, and that's okay, except that it's very time consuming to do that, and I want it to be kind of a bit more random. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually look at writing an expression. It's nothing to be scared of. They're quite easy things once you've used them once or twice. So over on position, on our keyboard, we want to press Alt, A-L-T, Alt, and then we want to left click on position. Okay, and this comes up. Don't worry about the red line, it's just there so that we can write our expression down here. It currently says transform.position. Alright, we're going to change that. Now the expression to use when you want things to move is called wiggle. So I'm going to type wiggle. Wiggle. Then I want to give it a bracket, and we're going to put in two numbers. Okay, the first number is how many times per second it is going to move, so I'm just going to put in 2, comma, and then how many pixels. So I'll pick 20, and then you want to close the bracket, close it. We just want to click outside somewhere just so that it enables that. Now if I play it through, you can see that expression has automatically set it to give it a random kind of movement up to 2 times per second, and it's going to move 20 pixels. Okay. Alright, now you can see the issue in there, in that the side, we're now seeing this black. So if I find a spot, there we go. You can see that on the left hand side we've got some black. So we want to fix that. Now there are two ways that you can fix that up. One is simply, if I have a look at scale, one is simply to scale up your composition. So if I do that, you can see it's moving around and there's no black edging on there. I'll just go undo. Another popular way to do it is to use an effect called motion tile. So if I just type in motion, one of the options will be called motion tile. So I'll just drag that onto my image. Okay, it doesn't do anything by default, but if you have a look up here in the effects settings, we want to change 3 things. We want to change the output width, and remember down here we've chosen to move it 20 pixels. So for the width, I'm just going to change that to 120. Okay, and I'll do the same for the output height, 120. And then I want to click mirror edges. And if you have a look at our image, you can see what that has done. It's actually got, I'll see if I can zoom in. Okay, it's got the edge and it's duplicating that, or it's mirroring those edges by the 20 pixels. So if I play it back, you can see that it does virtually the same thing as scaling it up. One or two issues to be aware of with using this technique is that when you've got moving footage and the moving footage is quite close to this edge, you can find that that distorts it in a not very pleasing way. So it's up to you. You can either scale it up a little bit, or you can use this effect called motion tile. Now let's just see what happens when we change some of these, the amount of the wiggle. So if I click in there, let's change this 20 to a really high number, 60. Okay, so wiggle to 60. You can see that that's moving a whole lot more. Okay, the cameraman's really inexperienced and that sort of thing, or he's in the middle of some kind of an earthquake, and you can see that there's a lot more shake in there. If I boost up the 2 to another large number, let's go 20 on that, it will be a lot faster because it'll be moving 20 times, up to 20 times per second and 60 pixels. Okay, so this is like the core of the earthquake. It's really going on now. But you can see that you can have really great control over how much your camera does shake. Now another interesting thing about this is you can actually apply motion blur once you've shaken your footage. So I'll go over and click the bouncing basketball for motion blur to enable it for this sequence, and then I must click it for the layer as well. If you can't currently see that, if your composition looks like this, just click on the toggle switches and modes button at the bottom until you see the little bouncing basketball and click on it for that layer. And you can automatically see that we've got quite a bit of blur going on. So if I play, so you can see that adding the motion blur in that instance is really quite effective. But I'm going to bring that number back down again to 2, and even if it's really low, let's take it to 15. And just gives a subtle movement, and it's a really good effect to use when, say, you want to give a bit of life to a photograph. Like that now looks less like a photograph and more like a film. It's also good for if you've done some effect shots and you needed to use a tripod on the day, but you really wanted to have some camera shake in there, then it's a really good thing to add at the end as well, so that you get some realistic kind of camera movement in there, and it helps to combine elements that are composited together. Okay, so that's the basics on how to add some camera shake to your footage. Hope you found it useful. Hope you use it.